Do-do. That has been a little while, Akira. I um I'm off Hades 2 again because I've explored it, not fully, but a lot of most of the content from the latest update. So until the full release, where like we get the ending, I might be done with it for a bit. The question for me is whether or not I'm going to re-review Halo 2, not Halo 2, good grief, Hades 2, once it actually has its proper launch. Because I did a review when it first went on early access, and I sunk a bit of time into it. I don't know what you're talking about, Ms. Wicked Wolf. Hi, Louise. Hey, Gadrin. Nice to see folks coming in. Thank you, Vanessa. Reminder, while I will try and keep up with the chat, the one thing that guarantees that I will see your comment or question is to do it as a super chat, which I will also appreciate. And you'll know that because you will get the little gay heart of appreciation and my thanks. So keep that in mind. Also, we have a hard stop tonight because I've got other stuff going on later. So we have a hard stop right at 8 o'clock my time. So we have an hour and that's it. What kind of earrings are these? They are bone earrings is what they are. Picked them up at the Vermont Queer Craft Fair over the weekend. So yes, I have bone earrings now. Feels right. How was my day? Not as productive as I was hoping, but not bad. It was all right. Hey, Bookworm. Hey, Transformer. The water is back. Oh, the water never leaves. It's just a question of flavor and specifics. Have you heard about the new UK Online Safety Act? In the broad strokes, I have not delved into it because I don't have the spoons. I know that it's being cited as one of the reasons why YouTube is exploring the whole using AI to guess people's ages for verification nonsense. So I have to assume it's a badly written law, like nearly any law trying to deal with online safety has ever been. I'm not going to say it is impossible to write a good law with that as the goal. I'm going to say we've never had one. I hope you enjoy that, Ms. Wicked Wolf. Hey, Timey, welcome. Who would you say your favorite doctor is and why? Capaldi, I just love everything about him. But ultimately, what made him my favorite is the character journey he goes through in the arc that he has over his 3 seasons. It really, really spoke to me. And he is ultimately my platonic ideal of the Doctor. Have you ever heard of the 90s film Death Becomes Her? It's so weird, like, seeing the phrase 90s film dropped as if, like, that's ancient history. Yes, I am familiar with, and I have seen. Not in a while. When I tried to watch it, it didn't quite click for me. And I haven't gone back and tried again since, so. Big fan of matching my Legos and my shows, so just started X-Men 97 today while I build the X-Mansion. Oh, nice! Enjoy X-Men 97. That first season's real good. We'll see how the next season is. I'm skeptical, given that they dropped the main writer. Again, I'm not gonna say that was necessarily a mistake. There's a weirdness going on with all that that's still not totally clear to this day. But I am worried that bringing somebody else in, it's going to become less hard hitting. Because that first season, dang, man. I love how you've been wearing your curls. Did you get a perm? I did not get a perm. I have started using a small amount of product to bring out the curls and waves that I already have. So I have been I have kind of been attending my hair a little bit more lately, but no, I have not gotten a perm. I gotta do all this stuff on my own. Those are the longest fake lashes I've ever seen. You have not been to enough drag shows, clearly, but They're not bad. I was at the state fair the other day for a heavy metal concert event. Oh, nice! We've actually got the county fair going on near where I am this coming weekend that I might take the kiddo to. Basically, with the UK nonsense, use Numeritus's face to prove who you are online. I mean, like, the goal is questionable. The mechanisms are likely a mess, and I'm sure the implementation will be a disaster. So I hope you like it, Timey. I like Gothic's real good. Any other obscure films you'd recommend? Just like sight unseen with no other guidance? No, I think it really depends on your tastes. Uh, who do you think has the most costume variants, Pertwee, Capaldi, or Godwa? I mean, by the strictest sense, it's probably Capaldi, but I would say, um, in the sort of spirit of the law rather than the letter of the law, I would say Gatwa. Um, but by raw number, and if we include like just swapping out the shirt underneath the coat as a variant, probably Capaldi wins on the raw number. Remember watching your review when it first came out. Fantastic Four. Maybe we want to go back to some Marvel stuff again. I haven't seen Fantastic Four yet. I It's not high on my list. I'm actually debating if I get to the movies this week whether I want to prioritize that or The Naked Gun. I don't know. Hey there, Dharma. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. Vacation by the Go-Go's. Nice choice. Just watching your new video kind of reminds me of people who say there's ethical consumption under capitalism to justify whatever they want. Like, I think I have a disability, so expect me to do anything hard is unfair. Yeah, so if folks don't know, 255 is referring to a short that I made, kind of going off on a guy who I don't think is known on YouTube, but he's big on TikTok, who pulled the most infuriating defense of using AI for artistic purposes, starting with invoking like people with physical disabilities, which, so far as I am able to tell, he absolutely does not have. It's an argument that I have never seen someone who I know for certainty has a physical ability actually make. I'm not going to say I've never heard people who claim to have physical disabilities make that argument in favor of AI, but it's generally been comments from anonymous accounts, so I can't know for certain. Like, I don't like to call anybody a liar unless I know for sure that they are, but like, you can claim to be whatever you want in a comment on the internet. It's the same reason I tend to not put too much weight in comments from people disagreeing with me on Doctor Who are like, I've been watching since the 60s. I'm like, that's a real easy thing for you to say. And like, maybe it's true, but you can't prove that to me. So I'm going to move on. But anyways, the thing that he did that really ticked me off was invoking his own ADHD as a reason why it's okay for him to use ChatGPT to write, creative works. And as somebody with ADHD who has written creative works, that pissed me off so much. But yeah, the people with disabilities deserve accommodations. I will never claim otherwise. However, AI is not an accommodation. AI is a plagiarism machine that's burning down the planet. Nobody should be using it. I don't care what your excuse is. So, just to reiterate that point, which I've made a few times. Which former Doctor Who's haven't yet teamed up for a reunion style episode would you love to see together in an episode in the future? I'm easy as long as the 9th Doctor is involved. Well, like, that's probably never going to happen. Eccleston, or it might happen in a Big Finish story or something. Eccleston coming back to play the role on screen is incredibly unlikely. I'd honestly love them to give McGann some more stuff to do on screen, but watching from my phone tonight, Falling Tree took out the power pole and internet on Sunday. Ooh, got power back but not internet. Yikes. Well, I'm glad that all you lost was power and there was no house damage or anything like that. The Online Safety Act basically restricts children's access to inappropriate material online, including help for eating disorders and therapy. There has never been a net positive that has come out of trying to child-proof general spaces. Like, there should absolutely be children-safe spaces. I will never disagree with that. But what things like the Online Safety Act, at least as I understand it, certainly various pieces of legislation that either have or are attempting to get passed in the US, what they are trying to do is child-proof the entire internet, which is well, ostensibly that's what they're doing. As a practical matter, they're just creating practical bans on a bunch of stuff. But, you know, the claim is make it safe for kids. Like, not everything's supposed to be for kids. We're going to child-proof the bars next. Like, what? There are some places where kids should not be. And while there should be the fundamental measures to be, you know, to try and keep them out, if a child skirts the rules to get into a place where they're not supposed to be, unless like somebody knowingly is like, oh, that's a child, that's fine, rather than booting them as soon as they're noticed, like you're denying the notion that there's literally any such thing as an adult space, which is a notion that enables people to just control stuff. So, yeah. Finally saw both the 2000 Ocean 11s followed by the original. I like the original better. Interesting take, Jason. I found the original incredibly boring. I cannot imagine adding lashes on my glasses. I gave up on mascara years ago because the sensation of them hitting my glasses drives me wild. Well, like, there's a reason with these, like, the big flare on these is out to the side. These actually aren't that long going forward. Like, I don't wear lashes that are like the whoosh, go out forward very far. Because, yeah, they hit my glasses and they bug me. This actually doesn't. Because the big flare is out to the side. Went to my first Pride on Saturday. Got really overwhelmed by how good the parade was. Any tips for not getting overwhelmed at Pride? Not really, because my own personal neurodivergency, that overwhelmed sensation is not something that I get very much, so I don't have a ton of tips or tricks to avoid it. Been majorly burned out of Marvel for a while now, since Secret Invasion, really, but I thought Fantastic Four was great, at least for me. Style and making made me connect with the Four. I mean, that's great. I've heard good things. I plan to get around to it. It's just, you know, my enthusiasm is gone. Saw your video on the cutesy self-censoring that people do. I agree wholeheartedly. The fact that people find workarounds is annoying and completely unnecessary. I mean, like, the workarounds are not necessarily unneeded. Like, videos do get suppressed. And if you need something to be seen, whether it's because it's your living or because the message you're trying to spread is important, like, sometimes workarounds are necessary. The cutesy ones, more than anything, I do have an issue with, and I do have a beef with, because you are trivializing the thing you are talking about using language like that. Have you considered making video on tropes / cliches you don't like, or is that a little too niche? It's not that it's too niche. It's honestly too broad. Videos like that, at least in my experience, for me putting them out, just tend to not find an audience very much. And when I've tried to do broad trope talks, they tend to have very middling numbers, which does not incentivize me to come back to that well, unless I've really got stuff I want to get off my chest. What do you see as the future of Doctor Who content if there's a large gap that lasts several years? Will it lean more into new audios, books, and comics? I mean, the audios are going to continue on regardless, because Big Finish's output does not depend on the show at all. Big Finish as long as they have the license, is going to make stuff at their own pace. So whatever's going on with the show has zero impact on Big Finish. Keep in mind, Big Finish has been doing audio adventures for Doctor Who for longer than the show was revived. They started in the late 90s doing that stuff. And the show wasn't revived until 2005. So it's going to have zero impact on the audio stuff. Books and comics is a tougher call, and it's also stuff that I do not know as much about. I would say comics are the thing most likely to see a significant downturn because, you know, they generally do try and do comics tied to the current Doctor, and we're in limbo on that right now. And books, I don't even know what they've been doing with books lately. I've seen exactly one account of a very disabled person using AI to produce shorts and songs about her experience of medical malpractice in real time and celebrate her accomplishments. And while I can appreciate that as a use, that doesn't counteract the damage. You know, I remember having this conversation with someone who, again, claimed to be disabled. I think the first time that I really went after AI for the plagiarism aspect, somebody in my comments claimed to have a disability and say that, you know, that's why I need this. And my reply to that was, being disabled doesn't give you the right to steal people's stuff. I understand that you feel you have use for what the output of this is, but for what it's built on and the damage it causes through its creation, no, you don't have a right to do that. Like, they don't have a right to make it, or they shouldn't, and you don't have a right to enable it, as far as I am concerned. Parents should block on safe sites. That's a little bit of a, pardon the expression, that's a little bit of a boomer notion, Dagsby, because, like, the idea of just blocking sites is very 90s and is not practical to our current online existence. Let's see. Random question. Have you ever had a chicken bake from Costco? Nope. Have you heard any Big Finish with the Seventh Doctor, Ace, and Hex yet? Nope. I don't know who Hex is, so no. I do think it's genuinely debatable where the line between accommodations and conveniences are, but that doesn't mean finding anything hard equates to an excuse to avoid it. I mean, yeah, like, the thing that really infuriates me as somebody who, you know, would actually like to do more stuff with fiction and narrative works than I do. You don't have a right to produce a novel. Like, accommodations for disabilities are an absolutely wonderful thing, and they should be at all times and in all situations available for anything that is essential, like just being able to navigate, access to, you know, food, water, and care, and you know, things like captions or things like that. Like, that is what enables you to or assists you in being able to participate in a society that might otherwise leave you behind and not bring you in for participation. Writing a novel, that's not like a standard thing that all of society is like doing, that you are left out of because you're disabled. Most able-bodied people aren't writing novels. Like, the ability to do that, and like tying an inability to do that to disability, especially honestly, neurodivergency, is so infuriating to me and insulting, frankly, especially because the physical disability claim, at least from where I've seen it, frequently comes from non-disabled people. John Vinyls, thank you very much for the super chat. It is disgusting that people say disabled people need AI to make art when there is literally a whole best-selling book written by a man who could not control most of his own body. There's that. Like, and like I said this in the short, will your disabilities, including potential neurodivergency issues, mean that the standard techniques used by neurotypical and non-disabled people, will those techniques not work for you? Sure. That doesn't mean there are none. That doesn't mean you can't find a way to make it work. Using AI is not finding a way to make it work for you. It's not doing anything and claiming you did. Like, that's the fundamental nature of AI. The closest you can get to claiming that you created art using AI, whether it is AI, visual art or ChatGPT or whatever, is it is at best, and just in terms of your claim of ownership, the hiring of a ghostwriter or the hiring of an artist to commission your work. Did they make it because of the prompts and, in the case of hiring real artists, money that you gave them? Yes. And therefore, would it not exist without you? Yeah, sure, arguably. That doesn't mean you actually made it. Because you didn't. You just didn't. Let's see. Watching the recent Big Brother in my free time. I've never watched Big Brother, and I never would. I have zero interest in a show like that. I'm sorry the season's frustrating you, though. Have you made a video on Creature Commandos? Yeah, I reviewed it episode by episode in the Break Room of Geeks, which is my secondary channel, so you can find those there. I just saw the Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman for the first time. Thought it was fine, not perfect, but fine. I'm worried the theatrical version will piss me off. Like, I just think it's a bad movie. I've never seen the Ultimate Edition of that particular one, but what I can tell you is that when people have told me, like, oh, well, it fixes this stuff, like, it's all logistical. And the logistical problems are not my biggest problems with that movie. My biggest problems are thematic. So if it's still got the same themes, but they plugged a few plot holes by adding in another half hour, okay, that doesn't fix the movie for me. So I've never seen that. And I never will unless somebody pays me. Seeing CCH Pounder in the new Naked Gun just reminds me that she's still the definitive Amanda Waller. She was really good as Amanda Waller. And, like, Viola Davis is good, but part of me really, really wants to see a physically larger Amanda Waller. Like, the woman's nickname in the comics is The Wall. And that is both metaphorical in terms of, like, she will just block your way and you can't get past her. And also, she's a very physically intimidating person. And Viola Davis brings great personality to the part. She's not The Wall. She's not. To me, personally. The extent of any kind of AI system for accessibility requirements is a speech-to-text for those who need it, in my opinion. Yes, and we've had that for years. We have speech to text. And we've had text to speech. We've had both of those technologies actually for decades. They've been getting better. But those didn't require large language learning models to work. We didn't need it. And yet, somehow, like, it's frustrating to me, all the technologies, many of which already existed, have been pulled together under the idea of, like, oh, it's all AI. It's like, no, stop it. I'll let you know if I like The Day the Earth Blew Up. I've heard from some people it's good. Again, after the new season of Peacemaker, I'm probably going to get rid of my HBO Max subscription now that Doctor Who's off of it. I'm also back from vacation. Well, that's great, John. I hope you had a good one. Your Why Don't You Wear a Dress Shirt reminded me of a story I heard from a queer podcaster the other day. He attended Berlin Pride, and there was a guy there dressed as the Statue of Liberty on a float representing the U.S. Embassy in the city. He spoke to the guy after and found out he was actually cis and straight. He just wanted the embassy to have some pride rep. Yeah, and good on him for doing so. Text-to-speech is still the person's own words and not somebody else's. Yes, which is why I don't like lumping text-to-speech or speech-to-text in with large language learning models, because I know that some newer versions of this, they have roped that technology into it, but we had it already. So, ugh. Did you ever watch Mythbusters? Occasionally. God, ages ago. like over a decade ago. Yeah, sometimes. LLMs caught the headlines because they could talk back, which, yeah, is like... I hate using Google now. I hate using anything with a search function now, because now everything has frigging AI summaries of stuff. Oh! You know what? Let's have some fun here. So, let me find it. AI summaries, like, you shouldn't need me to tell you, are just not great. Like, quality-wise, conceptually. And also, apparently, there's some reporting that news sites their traffic is way down because of, like, Google's AI summary stuff. Because people don't go to actual news websites anymore. They just read the summary, the Google AI summary, which is literally going to be self-defeating, because if these news websites go under because they have no more traffic because of Google AI, where the hell is Google AI going to get its news information that it's summarizing from? You fucking... Okay. Anyways, this is no longer what it is, but this is what the AI summary, if you were to search Council of Geeks on Reddit, like, I don't know, a month ago, this was what it read. And it doesn't say this anymore, but it did. So let's have a little fun. Council of Geeks is a popular YouTube channel known for its thoughtful discussions on various geek topics, including Doctor Who, Babylon 5, and queer representation in media. Fine. Generic, but fine. However, recent controversies involving the co-host, Neil Gaiman, have led to significant criticisms and ultimately the end of the podcast. Yes, that has been the big controversy, was that I used to co-host a podcast with Neil Gaiman, or at least Reddit fucking thought I did at one point. Oh my God. This stuff, like, you have to laugh at least a little, because otherwise you cry. But, hey Megan, nice to see you. I know you're not a fan of the concept, but honestly, a lot of the musical adaptations of famous movies was how I first discovered a lot of them. Kinky Boots, Waitress, Death Becomes Her. I'm like, that's fine. I'm glad other people enjoy them. I do not. We rewatched Rose to Father's Day in preparation for the Big Finish audios coming out. Jackie also somehow learned the name TARDIS off screen. Okay, but like, if you're comparing that to my like questioning of how Belinda knew the word TARDIS, like, it was literally her first episode. Like, there was downtime from Rose to Father's Day for Jackie to have heard the thing. Where was the downtime that theoretically would have brought up the name of the ship? I'm not saying it didn't exist, but it was like, it felt like we turned over 2 pages at once that she knew that. That's interesting, Claxon. The cats are stealing my dinner. You might want to take care of that, Bookworm. Mean Girls, Heathers, Pretty Woman, Pretty Soon, Lost Boys. Could Fight Club work? I don't care, Ms. Wicked Wolf. Like, that is a question where my only answer is I don't care. I don't care enough to even speculate. I have no, like, again, if other people are getting enjoyment out of these movie adaptations to Broadway shows, great. I am happy for you. It makes me not care about Broadway. I don't care. Other thing that short reminded me of was I saw a clip of a guy in Jubilee saying his free speech is still protected. No, he isn't. He's just saying what the regime wants. I mean, like, that's a very common... The thing is, 255, as I kind of alluded to in that short, there's a very common misunderstanding that people whose lives happen to align with what the current ruling forces in a society want, they will think, well, like, I'm free. No, you're not. You just happen to be living the life they want you to. I mean, that's why I kind of stress in that short, like, imagine for a minute that if you wanted to do something different, would you feel safe to do so? If the answer is no, that's a problem. Even if you don't actually want to live a life that would be considered a deviation, by the controlling aspects of a society, even if you don't want to do that, just the knowledge that if you did want to, you couldn't, that should be a red flag. And it frequently isn't. The review of Harold and Maude reminded me that movie existed, that it was some kind of fever dream from my youth. It is. Harold and Maude is an odd movie, for sure. In Star Trek The Next Generation, does the holodeck have every hologram model you could ask for? Or is it limited to a database, or does it make them itself? I have no idea, old web shooter. That would be a question for somebody deeper into Trek lore than me, who actually cares. Because for my purposes, I know the answer is whatever makes the story work for whatever they're currently doing. That's the answer. Just curious, what is it about musical adaptations of famous movies that you don't like? I just find it boring. I just don't find it interesting. And there are so few original musicals anymore. Like, here's the thing you already know, but now they sing. Okay. I shrug about it for the same reason that I shrug over remakes and I shrug over TV adaptations of movies or movie adaptations of TV shows. Like, whatever, man, whatever. Anyway, I got to hop over to the Council of Geeks Discord and check the questions there. I will be back in a couple minutes. Let's see. I have a Doctor Who question for you. What do you think the disappearance of Doctor Who from so many streaming channels presages for the future? Nothing. It has nothing to do with the current status of the show. It just has to do with negotiations between corporations. And for people who don't know, the revival era of 2005 through 2022, that was all on HBO Max. That deal expired, so now it's no longer there. And now, if you're not in the UK, it's kind of nowhere. At least if you're in the US, it's not accessible via streaming. What does that presage for the future of the show? Not a damn thing. It's a completely separate complication. Like, does it make things messy? Yeah, it does. It doesn't presage anything other than these deals corporations cut with each other are just a freaking headache. You know how on Battlestar Galactica they keep showing the Cylons observing the events, talking like everything that happens to the humans is part of some master plan? Do you think doing that makes it feel like the protagonists have no real agency or ability to actually make things better or worse for themselves based on the choices they make? Like after the thing with the virus in the last episode, I was left thinking, well, did they actually successfully get one over on the Cylons, or was it just part of the plan? I think you are overstating how the show actually does it. Like the main stretch where they did that was just with what was going on Caprica, and that was literally just observing Hilo. So you seem to be assuming an extrapolation out from that the Cylons are watching everything that the humans are doing and going, mwah ha ha ha, just according to plan at all points. When we already know that's not the case. Like, how do I say this non-spoilery? When the Cylons found out what was, for as far as I am in season 2, when the Cylons found out what was going on with Sharon on Galactica, they didn't know before they spotted that. So that wasn't part, the fact that she was still alive was not part of a master plan. They seemed happy about it, but they weren't going, ooh, just as we planned. They were going, oh, look at that. So, like, they're clearly being surprised by some of the things. And I say this as someone who gets very irritated by the trope of villains like, I planned and guided every part of this. I am the architect of all your pain. I hate that crap. I don't think they've tipped over into having it come across like that in Battlestar Galactica, at least not as far as I've gotten. Earlier today, I watched a history video about Sporus, a Roman assigned male at birth eunuch who lived as Emperor Nero's sort of wife for the last few years of his life. The video maker decided to use she, her based on the fact Sporus continued to present femme in public for years after Nero died. If there's any uncertainty about a historical person's gender, should you just default to they, them to avoid pronouns instead of trying to figure it out for yourself? I don't know, man. We're talking about people who have been dead for thousands of years and are going to be in absolutely no position to correct the record. Do whatever makes sense for you that you feel is respectful. I don't have an answer to that. I don't have an answer to that. Everyone's going to make their own calls. And unless they are being transphobic about how they talk about it, I don't think there's an inherently wrong call on that. Do you think some of the early Black Mirror episodes that deal with social media come across as kind of reactionary now? Like White Christmas and Nosedive are both based around the idea that eventually being mass blocked and disliked on social media will be like actual social death in recent years. That's an idea I feel like I've mainly heard from right-wingers complaining about people not liking their attack helicopter tweets or whatever. Short answer to your question, no. No. No, not at all. I don't think that comes across as reactionary in the slightest. No. White Christmas is already an extrapolation. It's not saying that being just blocked on social media is like death. It has created a world in which social media and real life were literally the same thing. So it's not extrapolating. It's not, I don't think that episode was saying what you thought it was saying. And as far as Nosedive is concerned, Nosedive takes the position that actually getting banished out of this social system is very freeing. So I don't even know how you'd get a reactionary standpoint on that. And like, neither of those are reactionary observations. The fact that certain reactionaries take up these kind of points because they themselves are salty over the fact that nobody likes them doesn't make earlier pieces of work making that point in fiction into reactionary pieces of work. So no. Besides Hellbent, do you think Moffat has ever written a terrible Doctor Who episode? Wedding of River Song. That thing's a mess. Who's more evil, Palpatine or Davros? Don't know, don't care. Like, the metric of evil is such, like... evil just as a term is so broad and generic, I don't find much use for it, especially, honestly, especially if we're talking about fiction. Like, who is more evil? I don't know. It depends on an individual's... personal morality scale for what they even consider to be evil. Who is more evil, Palpatine or Davros? I don't know, man. You're talking about the difference between a fascist who's all about the power to control other people and a fascist who's all about killing everybody. They're both fascists and they both suck. I don't feel like splitting hairs on that. What's your favorite movie trilogy? Probably, like, as a whole, probably How to Train Your Dragon, because I think, while I think the third one's the weakest, I think it has the lowest drop in quality amongst the three for its weakest entry of most trilogies. Lord of the Rings, I feel like, is a solid proposal, but like that one is talking about Lord of the Rings as a trilogy is weird because the way it was made and shot and conceived, it really is an outlier in a lot of ways from most trilogies. And when I think about movie trilogies, I'm generally not thinking about something where they shot it all at once and then cut it up later. Like, I know it gets released as a trilogy, but in my mind, that's not what a movie trilogy actually is. That's probably just a me thing, though. Which is better, to be loved or to be feared? What is better, to be loved or to be feared? To be seen honestly. That's better. Given the apparent success of both Fantastic Four and the new Superman movie, can the argument be made that it's superhero? Can the argument still be made that it's superhero fatigue? Why or why not? Oh, you can absolutely still make the argument. It's just like there's a saying, one swallow doesn't make a summer. You know, just because the exceptions don't alter the trajectory. Like, DC has the upswing of this being the start of a entire new continuity, so it gets to shake off the baggage. Marvel's in a much more awkward situation where because like the same question was asked after Thunderbolts. But you know what? After Thunderbolts, nobody was going, oh yeah, we're definitely, now they're asking again, does Fantastic Four mean we were out of the slump? Like, I thought you said Thunderbolts meant we were out of the slump. One thing alone doesn't mean, you need to build the momentum again, which I don't trust them to do. What is the airspace of an unladen swallow, African or European? Anyways, I am back in the main chat now, so John Vinyls, thank you again for that super chat. That is very generous, and I appreciate that. Musical Hell discusses how the script of the movies were already plotted without music and songs, so movie to musical adaptations have to insert songs into the script book in an often awkward manner. Yes, that is frequently one of the problems. Another one of the problems is like a lot of these stories don't necessarily lend themselves to musicality. Even the ones that do, they will have some way of otherwise screwing it up. My go-to example for that is Sister Act, because that is a movie that has a significant music portion, but because they didn't want to pay for the rights of the songs that were in the movies, they wrote entirely new stuff, which means there is literally none of the sort of Motown and gospel infused Catholic choir stuff that's in the movie that is so great. Literally none of that's in the stage show. And at that point, it's like, what the hell are we even doing here? Did you see the new live action How to Train Your Dragon? Have you seen the new live action How to... No, I have not, and I will not. What's a film trilogy that you love that doesn't get much attention? For me, it's the Transporter trilogy with Jason Statham. That one I don't have an answer for off the top of my head. Like, because I feel like most things that get to a third entry, they probably got the attention that they deserved in most cases. Have you seen the trailer for the upcoming Cat in the Hat film? If so, thoughts? I saw it. I referenced it in my video talking about the current state of animated films. I think it looks flippin' terrible. Looks real ugly. No interest. It looked mildly better than Smurfs. That's the nicest thing I can say about it. Wholesome as it was, the story about the U.S. Embassy Pride guy also made me a little sad because I assume today, he'd not have been allowed to do it. Of course he wouldn't have. Of course he wouldn't have. You don't think White Christmas is meant to be read as, oh, this is where this could go in the future? No, most of Black Mirror is not that. Black Mirror does what most commentary focused sci-fi is doing. It's not commenting on where things might go in the future. It's commentating on the world we have right now through exaggeration. It's taking the premise of let's look down the road for what this might look like in the future as a way to comment on now. Like, that's what it's doing. It's a commentary on the present. It's not a commentary on the future. John Vinyls, thank you. You have been exceedingly generous tonight, and I really, really appreciate that. Have you seen The Boy and the Heron? Where would you rank it against other Miyazaki movies? Also, have you ever seen When Marnie Was There and or Whisper of the Heart and the Cat Returns? I have not seen any of those yet. Boy and the Heron, last I knew it was on Max, so if it's still there, that might be one to try and cram in before I drop the service. But no, I haven't seen very many of the Studio Ghibli output that wasn't directed by Miyazaki. And Boy and the Heron, I think, is the only one of his films that I have not seen yet still. Been a bit braver in seeing horror films on the big screen lately. Saw Bring Her Back on Saturday. Torn on seeing Weapons, though. Well, I am curious about Weapons because Barbarian was real good. And early reviews are promising on that. Do you think less of the people who are appearing in the new Harry Potter show, like Nick Frost? I have an inherent discomfort with, like, phrase of think less of them. I will say flatly I am disappointed. And we have a new list of folks because there was the announced cast for the full cast audio recordings that are going on Audible, and there's a whole bunch of people on there like Hugh Laurie and Michelle Gomez, who I am now also disappointed in. Not as much as I am with the people who are doing the show, just because, you know, it's the difference between doing a single contract job for someone who you know is a bigot and signing a piece of paper to continue to work with that bigot for the next 7 years. They aren't the same, but I am going to ask in either case, why are you working for the bigot? So yeah, no, I am disappointed by all of that. Who is your favorite character from The Good Place? Mine is Eleanor. I think mine's Jason, actually. You know, whenever I have a problem, I throw a Molotov cocktail, and then I have a different problem. I love Jason. I love Jason so much. That whole cast of characters is phenomenal, though. That I think that is one of the best TV shows I've seen in terms of how strong it is throughout its run. I think that is one of the strongest runs on for a television show in terms of one that got to finish. Are you dropping the service of HBO because of the new Harry Potter show? No, I'm considering dropping it because they no longer carry the revival era of Doctor Who, and there isn't a hell of a lot on there that I'm interested in seeing, so it's just not worth the monthly bill to me. Howl's Moving Castle will always be my favorite Ghibli movie. For me, it is My Neighbor Totoro. Though my nostalgic favorite is Princess Mononoke. I may have shown Princess Mononoke to my kid a little sooner than I should have. They liked it, but I do wonder a little bit, like, maybe I should have gone for another year or two before I showed them that. Do you think there should be an I Saw the TV Glow 2? No. Why? What? No. Uh, Thoughts on the live action version of Dr. Seuss movies? There is no feature length version of Dr. Seuss that is good, animated or live action. They all suck. There are specials and shorts done of Dr. Seuss that are good. Butter Battle Book, the original, the TV special version of the Lorax, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. A whole bunch of those are great. Dr. Seuss does not stretch out into a feature length product without getting destroyed. They all suck. Animated or live action, they're all terrible. In my opinion. If you like them, great. Good for you. I'm glad you like them. I hate them. It's meant to be commenting on the president. It still strikes me as kind of hyperbolic and reactionary to treat being blocked like that. 255, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I fundamentally disagree with your assessment, and you keep trying to circle me back on it to clarify it again, and I'm gonna keep telling you the same thing. I disagree with your assessment that it is a reactionary position. I don't agree that it is. Can we move on? If Uncle Vernon is telling the Japanese golfer joke, I think he means, why is he telling that to his boss in front of his young son? Yeah, I'm actually fairly certain I know what that joke is, because I heard it back in the 90s. Do you remember or have watched WKRP in Cincinnati? I was completely unaware of it as it aired. I have seen some of it since then, because I have people in my life who enjoy it and have had me watch certain specific episodes. So I know of it. I didn't know anything about it at the time, though, when it was airing and when it was new. Have you watched My Adventures with Superman? If yes, does the show's version of Supergirl remind you of Peridot? I haven't seen it, so I couldn't tell you. The 50,000 Fingers of Dr. T is an okay live-action Seuss feature. I've literally never heard of that, Rowan, so I'm going to pass on that. How many series of The Good Place is there, and when did it air? It started airing in the latter 2010s. It has 4 seasons. It had 4 seasons, and it was really good. It was really good, and it ended really well, which is a real difficult thing to do for most TV shows. Ending well is a real hard thing to do. I still think Cheers has one of the best finales of all time. I would say, personally, I think the best sitcom finale of all time. But Good Place was just real solid all the way through. Just gifted my cousin for her birthday a bunch of Diana Wynne Jones books, including Howl's Moving Castle. I don't know a lot about the book. I'll got to be honest on that. Something I read a while back in both Beetlejuice films. Beetlejuice always holds up his end of the deals made. It's the other characters that betray him. I mean, let's not mischaracterize Beetlejuice, at least in the films, as a noble character. He's not. And the general impression that I get that the reason he holds up his end of bargains is because he has to. Like, there's clearly a whole ton of rules in place, because within the boundaries of the rules, he causes a lot of chaos, but he's obviously incredibly confined by those rules. I don't think his holding up his part of the bargain is something he's choosing to do. I think it's something he has to do. I don't think he has a choice on that. Favorite Golden Girl? I couldn't pick an individual because it's the interaction between them and the overall dynamic that makes them amazing. The idea of picking a single favorite, just my brain kind of bounces off it. Depends on the episode. I mean, when I go to a house that has like Golden Girl like themed wine glasses or something, I'm grabbing Blanche. Like, that is what I'm gonna do. But that's not necessarily because she's my favorite, just because, you know, I relate in some areas. Seuss had an economy of storytelling that doesn't really stretch to feature length. Yeah, exactly, Laura. Like, his stories were never meant to carry the weight of feature film. and trying to stretch them or pad them out so they do has destroyed them every single time. Some of them are more wrecked than others, I will grant you that, but I don't think any of them are good. How close are we to the end of the stream? 5 minutes. Because as I mentioned at the start, we do have a hard stop today. I'm still not sure how I feel about the last 2 Good Place episodes, even after all this time. I really like them. I really like the way that show ended. I think it handled its themes and the way that it chose to bring them to a close really well. That's why Golden Palace didn't take off, even though they had some great episodes, but you need all 4. Yeah, I mean, that was part of the problem, Becca, for sure. I mean, the other part of the problem with Golden Palace, if we're being honest, is that it felt outdated. Like, Golden Girls felt pretty cutting edge when it started, but then it went on for years, and like, it didn't have to update because like it was popular as is, but the landscape of TV was starting to change around it. So when you make a now new show that's doing the format of a show that had started way earlier, you're continuing a format that is no longer current, and you don't have the excuse of like, oh, but we've been around a while anymore. You mentioned leaving Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. during the series. Anything in particular that made you leave it? Yeah, 2 things. Overall, season 3, there was increasingly more emphasis put on like the shipping stuff, which, you know, between some of the characters, which I just had no interest in. For me, the capper was when they killed Ward and had him be the host for Hive, because I found Ward to be the most fascinating character on that show. I really liked Ward. I thought he was an incredible character and a real great wild card villain, and then they killed him for this generic, boring, nonsense monster. I'm like, if this is what you're doing, your priorities are so out of whack that I don't feel like sticking around. What is my favorite episode of Love, Death, and Robots? Like, single favorite episode of the whole show? Oh, jeez. I think I need to get an episode list if I'm going to try and figure that out. Hang on. Love, Death, and Robots. Let's see. Episodes. Here we go. No. Maybe. No. Maybe. No. Maybe. Sorry, I'm working my way through. I'm not sure I could pick you a single favorite, but I'll give you a couple to give you an idea of the kinds of stuff that I think is really, really good. The Very Pulse of the Machine, Zima Blue, Fish Night, stuff like that. The Drowned Giant, sort of stuff that is a little bit more heady, a little more trippy, a little more existential, tends to be the stuff that I really gravitate towards on that show, as opposed to the super realistic looking, actiony and grotesque stuff that is kind of better known for. All right, I'm going to try and burn through these questions real super quick because I need to stop. I wasn't born with talent. When I hear people say that, I also wonder if they have just never gone through the experience of learning a skill. Very likely. I think people like that have a tendency to look at somebody who's very good at a thing, assume that they were always good at it, and just go, well, I can't do that. And odds are they haven't tried. I'm dreading the possibility of Will Ferrell getting cast as either the son of the villain from Naked Gun 2 or the ghost of Maxie Dean in the next Beetlejuice. I'm not... Is that something that is liable to happen? You lost me there. What is the funniest joke you can remember from Family Guy? It's not the funniest joke, but it's what's leapt to my mind. Bird's the word. We're not going to keep going. All right, I've got a super chat here I need to tackle, and then we need to wrap up. Thank you, Purple Raider, for the super chat. I appreciate it greatly. What are everyday things cis people can do to be better trans allies? Honestly, just speak up. When you hear somebody espousing transphobia, say something. If it's whether it's in the workplace, whether it's your neighbor, whether it's somebody in your family, say something. Because people say these things because they think that people agree with them or won't stop them. Prove them wrong. There we go. All right, I gotta wrap it up. Thank you all very much for joining me. Tomorrow I will be streaming on the Break Room of Geeks. I'm going to be playing the Stray Gods DLC, the Orpheus DLC. And there was a Break Room of Geeks video that went up earlier today looking at a Kurosawa film. I'll have some other stuff up in the break room. Saturday's video is going to sort of be about the Sydney Sweeney American Eagle ads, but it's more about the overall picture of what happened rather than the specifics of it. Like I want to talk about the loop of backlash and then backlash to the backlash. That's what I want to talk about. I'm going to use that to do it. So that'll be Saturday's video. It is not in early access yet. It will hopefully be no later than Thursday, but I'm still working on that. But thank you very much for joining me. You all take care of yourselves. Be well, be safe, be kind. You are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved. You are the council, and I am just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. McCavity!